Aloha, this is Bill Best and Carmen Gardner. You're on exhibit.
I am.
Yes, you are.
Oh my gosh. Am I framed or being framed?
We're being framed right now. Yes, thanks to Carl Rorozicki, and he's the man behind the camera here. And so far we've been visiting a number of galleries and museums, but today we're with Carmen Gardner, and she has this wonderful studio, beautiful location here in Haiku, and it's really an inspiration to see your work.
Thank you.
We've known each other for a long time, since the 70s, really.
Well, yeah,
I think so.
early 80s,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, and you still haven't aged, as I have.
So I used to follow you, now you're following me? No,
On
something
the
like
air.
that.
She used to be on the radio, and I can't believe you're still not on the radio. It's such an exciting thing, still exciting thing to do, but you are totally wrapped up in your artwork, and you've been an artist now for some time. Now, back in the radio days at Kauai, I had no idea you did artwork. Did you doodle? Were you doodling?
That was I
What
a
were you
doodler.
doodling?
The turntables. No, that's how far back we go.
Yeah, turntables.
I actually, I was an art major in high school and loved, ever since I was a kid, my favorite gift was a coloring book at Christmas time. And so, yeah, I've pretty much been, you know what, I've been privileged to be an artist my entire life, from radio to the theater, and then back to my first love, painting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm blessed.
And you started out with just drawing and crayons, or what was your passion when you first started doing artwork?
Doing artwork. Well, my passion was making sure my friends didn't color outside the lines in my color book, right? Right. And my crayons, keeping them sharp.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
that horrible little sharpener
Yeah,
that came
yeah.
with it and messed up your
I didn't
crayons?
like that.
No, and
It
just
made this cranky little.
yeah, and
yeah.
and your crayons got stuck in the sharpener.
Yeah,
Remember
right,
that?
yeah.
But yeah, all that.
Some kids would
aside,
eat the crayons too. They would eat their crayons.
Yeah, well, if they ate mine, no, not
You're
really.
very particular
I
about
was.
your supplies.
Supplies.
Yes.
Well, you probably know because Bobby's a painter. You're a painter, so you know how much supplies can cost.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So when you're a kid and you're operating on 5-cent nickel allowance or whatever, it's a toss-up. The Helms bakery truck or a new crayon.
Did you have a favorite color in the crayon box?
Favorite color? You know what? I really liked melon. Do you remember melon? And
not
periwinkle.
No, I.
That was in the 64.
Yeah. Oh, the big box.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you had the big box. Wow. I wasn't as privileged as you were, evidently. But I'm anxious to see some of your work. You've done such fabulous pieces that we will look at in just a moment as soon as we go into your studio. I'm anxious to look at some of your more recent pieces, even a few pieces that are unfinished. So
Okay.
let's go inside.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So this is your studio.
Yes, it is.
This is where the magic happens.
Or the damage is done.
Yeah.
One or the other.
And we're getting an exclusive look at some of your pieces that in some cases are not finished. But this piece here, this is one you created right after 9/11, right?
Well, a few years after 9/11, it happened. Okay, you know how you get those emails, political emails, talking about war or whatever.
Right.
And this particular email had a link to the United States Marine Corps site. So I clicked on the link and it took me there, and took me then another link to a gallery. And I saw this image and I'd never seen it before, honoring the fallen.
Yeah.
And so to me it was brand new, and it struck me as so profound, you know, the M16, or I assume it's an M16, and the helmet and the goggles and the dog tags and the boots,
Right.
all belonging to the person who was fallen, who passed away.
Who passed away. Yeah.
And what got me, and it just really hit home, was the fact that the boots were all new. Like,
Yeah.
you know, how they'd only been there a short time. And so it said the people's names under all these photographs of this symbolic, you know, aloha. And wow, it'd be like Lance Corporal so-and-so, 18, or Sergeant
Yeah,
so-and-so,
yeah.
22 or 23. And I mean, these are kids
Just, yeah.
that are over there for a short time.
Right.
Anyway, but I didn't want to, preach or make this huge statement, so I didn't title it. So it's Untitled is the title. And I hoped that people would bring their own views and that it might
Sure.
help them to expand those views in one way,
Oh, yeah.
hopefully one way. And then it was part of it. In fact, they chose it to be the poster painting for War and Peace exhibit that was up Makawa a few years ago.
yeah.
Tom Sewell and Tim Garcia and a few
Right.
other folks put the
Who were
show on.
actually kind of, their pieces didn't get into Art Maui.
Yeah, neither did this.
Yeah, it's always amazing to me the pieces that don't get into Art Maui. And I always tell people, if you didn't get your piece in Art Maui, you're in good company.
Yes.
'Cause you're lucky if you get in, but if you didn't, you're still in great company.
That's true about any art
Yeah,
juried
any-
show.
I don't care if somebody's using crayons. I mean, their creativity is so important in this world.
Right.
We need more creative people.
And it's a toss-up. Sometimes you're in, sometimes you're not. But it isn't. It's like the poem by Rudyard Kipling. There's sort of a paraphrased version above the entrance to Center Court Wimbledon, and as the players are going out to play tennis, it says, "If you can look at victory and defeat and treat both imposters equally, then you are a champion." Right?
Well, I can't imagine your work has been refused much.
Oh,
I mean,
it is.
this has got to be a rarity.
No, it's it happens.
Yeah, yeah.
But hey, can't take the heat. Don't go in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
But don't look at it to validate, basically.
Let's take a look at this piece here. Now, this is a piece. Well, I can't believe that this is unfinished. It's so beautiful and so lifelike.
Oh, thank you.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm doing a series, hopefully. There's always that hopeful
Yeah,
thing about
yeah.
art, on Princess Kaiulani.
Right.
And it's really difficult because I'm working, lots of artists have, so I'm not the only one, but working from old black and white photographs.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm guessing on skin tones and the color of her dresses and what have you. But I wanted to do a whole series so that, my voice or the artist's voice, there's a continuity to it. So I'm starting with her as a child and then going up to the age she was when she passed away, which was 23.
23. She died at 23. So how old would she be in this
She was
picture?
17,
Wow.
and she was at Harrowden Hall in England, Scotland, the UK. And so she was sent there to study. As you know, her father was Scot and her mother Hawaiian. And while she was there, she learned of what was happening in Hawaii and actually went back to the U.S. And we do have knowledge of a speech that she gave when she got off the ship that was pretty powerful. So she's would have been queen and pretty much was going to be the queen from the time she was conceived. Her uncle was Kalakaua.
Right. Let's take a look at the painting you did when she was a young girl.
Oh, okay. Those aren't finished. Well, none of these
I know
are.
they're not
Okay,
finished,
so,
but people can kind of get an idea.
Of where I'm
this
going.
is not finished. Well, then we'll look at some of the pieces that are finished.
Okay.
It's really amazing to see.
Thank you. So this one's in progress as well. And this is when she was a little girl of about 5. And it's been a while since I've worked on it. I got it all to this place, and so I still have a lot of detail to work on. Trying to she was also known as the Island Rose. So I'm trying not to have the roses be too attention-getting kind of thing. And so I'm still working on the skin tones and the lace and the curtains. And was just getting, after working on all this ruching,
Jeez.
is going kind of cross-eyed.
Yeah,
so,
I would too, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I've kind of left it at this phase, and I'm going to As soon as I get the other one we were just talking about, finished, then I'll come back to this one.
Were there many pictures of her at that age?
A few, maybe 3 or 4.
Really? Just a few?
But, trying to get it right, because there's a certain reverence I feel for her.
Well, sure, yeah.
So taking my time and just doing it really slowly. And also I paint in a weird way. I paint in lots and lots of layers because I started in watercolor. So when I do oil, I use a lot of transparent oil and layer slowly. So it takes time to dry, that, to dry in between.
You need to take a day or so,
right.
Let it dry, and then work on
or
the
a month.
A month. Yeah, so you must do several pieces at once then.
I
You're always
do,
working
yeah.
on 2 or 3.
I'm always working, yeah. So, but I do use some medium that helps it to dry a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
I don't want it to dry too fast because of the way I paint. But yeah, so anyway, she's got several layers on, and I've got maybe 2 or 3 to go, and then to work on all this lace. I don't want to do too much detail on anything except her face, so that the viewer can see her strength as a child.
Well, you've got to wonder what she was looking at. What she has kind of a
petulant look, doesn't she?
Yeah.
A little, yeah.
A little bit.
So I thought I'm gonna really play that up.
Yeah. Now, how old was she in this picture? She's much older.
Yes, she had returned from the UK, and it's maybe, I would say, maybe a year, 2 years before she passed away.
How did she die?
Well, that's up for debate. Some people say that she had rheumatoid arthritis. Some people say she caught pneumonia as she was out riding her horse on the Big Island, and many think she died of a broken heart.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So she loved Hawaii, loved the people of Hawaii, and it really did break her heart when she heard of what happened to her aunt Liliuokalani. And she was a very strong gal, especially for the Victorian age. She spoke her mind, and people respected that. And the Hawaiian people, the rumor is that when she arrived back in Hawaii after, the annexation and what have you, the streets were lined for as far as you could see with the people of Hawaii, waiting for their princess and queen designate. This is the first painting I did of Kailani. Again, when she's returned from the UK, guessing at the color of her dress, guessing at the color of her skin. It's not, I brought it back in here because I want to take it out of the frame and do a few things. Now that I've learned a little bit more, what I really want to do, Bill, is I want to go to Bishop Museum, possibly in April, and go to the archives, make an appointment, talk to folks, and before I say that they are all finished, make sure that I understand emotionally as well as intellectually who this wonderful woman is. Because I think somebody in that day and age, in the Victorian age, to step up the way she did and to be such a strong woman must have been unusual.
Yeah.
Even though Victoria, we know Queen Victoria was pretty strong, and she was named after Queen Victoria. Her first name was Victoria. So, I still need to learn some more. I need to dig a little deeper. I've read everything I can get my hands on. I've looked at every photo in the archives, the state archives, and now I think I need to speak to some kupuna at the museum and on Oahu, and visit Kauaihau Church where she's buried, and get a little bit more understanding before I can sign these paintings and say, okay, I'm done. And I still probably want to do 7 or 8, I think, at least.
Yeah.
So
you'd have a whole series. Yeah.
Yeah. And
now, do you do portraits by commission?
I do. Not often.
Yeah.
John Singer Sargent said, every time I paint a portrait, I lose a friend. I don't have very many friends.
Not anymore, evidently.
Right.
With all these portraits. You have a portrait of a child here. Who is that?
That is Myla Blue. She's, her mom and my daughter grew up together. Her mama was 6 years old when I met her. And this is Myla, her first day of preschool. And I tried to capture the look on her face as to whether she wasn't too sure whether she wanted to be there or
Yeah,
not.
I could see that.
So that's
Not sure.
Marla Blue.
And I have to compliment you on your plastic bag because that is brilliant.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
brilliant.
Thank you.
That's not easy to do.
Craig says, "How did you get her hand in there?"
Yeah, yeah, really.
Well,
It's amazing.
if I tell you, I'll have to kill you. No, not really.
Not only do
Story.
you do portraits, and you've also done work for Malama Vawakua, just the yearly show, and you do these wonderful paintings of flowers, and you have a few over here. Again, this not necessarily finished. Is this piece finished?
This one
That
is.
one's finished.
This. Should I walk over
Oh,
here?
yeah,
Okay.
sure.
This
Right
one
over
here was an experiment in only using transparent oil before I started using opaque. So the greens and the colors that you see here are not out of a tube. They're layered color as I would in watercolor to get that green. So that was like a huge thing. I didn't even know there was such thing as transparent oil.
So is this something you've started using recently?
Oil is, yeah. I started with watercolor. Watercolor was my first love, and I swore I would not pick up another medium until I mastered watercolor.
Yeah.
But then I realized I'll never master watercolor. I'm too old. Too old. I don't have enough time left, right? So I wanted to play with oils, and so I thought, well, you know what? I had picked up a book called Radiant Oils, and it was all about transparent oil. And I'm like, okay, well, let me try this. So this was one of the first ones I did, and just playing with layering color. And so, it's kind of an experiment. That's why it isn't in a gallery or anything. It's sort of a, play. It's playing.
Some pieces you probably wouldn't want to sell. You must have a few favorites that you would never
Well,
sell.
like Untitled.
Yeah, Untitled is one of your favorites?
Well, it's one that I would feel strange selling.
Oh.
I mean, if somebody really wanted it and they came to me and they said, this is why, because it really means something,
Yeah.
then okay, but I don't want to put it in a gallery for sale because it's kind of like, how some people, not to get into politics, make money off war.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Right.
So you have your work at Viewpoints Gallery.
I do. I have a lot of work at Viewpoints and also at Hana Coast and Travasa Hana Maui.
Oh, okay.
So, and then, online I post some things. But
And your web address
is carmengardner.net.
Oh, that's simple. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm bad about keeping my website up. But I have Facebook. I'm on Facebook.
And you also have classes. You have another class coming up in March
Yes.
that you'll be teaching.
Yes.
And-
And I teach for the Hui, for Hui Noiau,
Oh, that's
our
right.
art center.
Yes. Oh, sure.
And for Kaunoa, for the county. And that's I love teaching there. They are the most wonderful group of people, and the support for the teachers is fabulous. So that's my favorite place to teach. And then I also teach here. I have a space here in the studio
Yeah,
for
you do.
what I was showing you over there.
Yeah.
The Hui, a couple of years ago, you know how they do those themed exhibits now?
Yeah.
A few years ago, it was called Red. And so when they sent out the call to artists to ask us to paint what red means to us, the very first thing that came into my mind was product red. Are you familiar with product red?
Kind of.
It's where major corporations give money when on a red item.
Right.
I think Starbucks
That's
had a
for
red cup.
cancer.
For AIDS in Africa.
for AIDS.
To fight AIDS in Africa. And so that's one of my favorite charities,
uh-huh.
Product Red. So that was what came to mind immediately. And so I painted 3 paintings, and this is one of them. And people think when you talk about AIDS in Africa that it's just like little natives running around with AIDS or something. They don't understand that it's people like you and me, and they are being affected by this horrible thing, and all they need is 2 pills a day to fight it.
Right.
And the government won't supply that. So agencies like Product Red, nonprofits, are over there doing that, and they're also building more nursing facilities to teach nurses.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm not sure how many thousand are dying a day now, but when I painted this, it was over 4,000 people, men, women, and children a day.
A day?
A day.
Oh my God.
Across Africa dying of
my.
AIDS. In I think this was like 2010.
Yeah.
You know, tragic.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So.
So this is not a specific person, or
it was a composite of photos that I found on the internet and wrote away for permission to paint.
Right.
And this lady was, well, as I said, it's kind of a composite. So she's not like just one person, but in front of a mortuary that are way overtaxed, and just the heartache and the heartbreak that those people are experiencing is just terrible. It's gotten a little better now, but Product Red is a really good organization to support. So
well, I can feel it. It's very moving.
Thank you.
Picture, yeah.
So another one that's not, a commercial.
And this is watercolor. This one.
This one's watercolor.
Yeah. Do you prefer water over oil, or? Yes?
I get asked that a lot.
Yeah.
They're so different.
Yeah.
Oil you have to push. Watercolor flows, and it does things that no other medium will do.
Right.
It's also very picky and very, what would be the word? It has a mind of its own. So you have to kind of trick it into thinking you're doing what it wants and know how to do that. Like marriage, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I won't touch that one with a 10-foot pole. Just kidding. But yeah, so watercolor, once you understand what it's about, which is the water, and water's an element.
Yeah.
Right? So it's kind of a powerful thing. But once you understand that it's all about the water, and you can answer the question, are you using too much or too little water, you can do anything with the medium.
Well, can you use any kind of water? Distilled water?
I've never tried that. And I know some people paint with wine. That's kind of a water. Or somebody once turned it into wine.
A specific kind of wine, or red wine? Was it a white? Was it Zinfandel?
I don't know. We'll have to ask.
I never heard this before. Very interesting.
There's actually a group in Italy that do. They have this event once a year, or they did, where they would invite well-known watercolorists and they would paint with wine. I've never tried it.
Why not?
Maybe having a glass. I've tried painting like that, but I don't get very far. But yeah, so watercolor flows in a way, and you can do things with it that you can't do with anything else. No. So for that, I love it. But as you can see, my colors are still pretty well saturated. So I've been accused of painting in watercolor like an oil painter paints. But I love color, watercolor, right? There's two elements to that.
Yes.
So I love color, and I also love oils because I am just like blown away, or trying to understand how the old masters did what they did with the materials that they had compared to what we have. So that's why I really love oil.
Well, I like the schmooshy aspect of oil, and it reminds me of the finger paints back when I was a kid, smooshing around.
Yes.
And then the smells, the turpentine, and the whole experience of
I
it.
love that you say that, because I've had students who can't stand the smell of oil.
It's lucky I'm not doing it anymore, because I'd probably be an oil paint junkie.
But no, you wouldn't. But although Van Gogh did eat his paint.
He ate his paint?
Yeah, but he was poor.
Well, he didn't eat it for nutrition, did he?
No, I think maybe because he was hungry. I'm not sure.
Oh, jeez. Artists get the short stick every time, it seems.
But nowadays, just to clarify, there is such a thing as odorless mineral spirits, and it still has a little bit of a scent to it, but it's not like turpentine used to be.
You gotta have the terps.
And now we have what's something else called terp something natural. That's terpenoid natural.
Terpenoid?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I have one more question. When do you trot out the naked models? Just wondering, is that happening?
When my husband's not home? No. That's a really good question. Would you like to
have
come?
models?
Would you like to come model?
Oh, nobody wants to see that.
Well, how do you know?
Fully clothed, maybe. No.
That's art, though. We all have our own voice, and we paint what we see, and some people see differently. So you never know. I mean, you could come out looking like Achilles or something.
Well, I wouldn't come over here to look at myself naked. I'm talking about some naked models,
Oh, he wants to come over and do a show. That's what it is. Bobby, did you hear that?
Because it's art, and we could show that on TV, right? Naked models, it's art.
It's cable.
Yeah, that's right.
We could try. I mean, would you like me to send you an invitation?
Please do.
Okay.
Well, you're doing a class in March.
Yes.
And if people want to get in on the class, they can't
I think it's kind of full.
It's not for beginners, though.
No,
really.
It's going to be in March here. I'm doing a class on painting portraits in oil. And then I'm doing at the Hui a class on painting florals in oil at Hui Noyao. And then after the oil portrait class here, I'll be doing large format white flowers, which I paint differently in watercolor. I don't just do gray shadows, I do optical color.
But if they're white, that means you're using the paper.
The paper, yes,
again.
And the shadows in optics.
Yeah.
And then I will be doing portraits in watercolor here, probably early summer.
Yeah.
And the way I teach it here is a little bit different. I do one class, like say on a Wednesday, noon to 4. And then I give you an assignment and I say, okay, you need to complete this by next Wednesday. And then they come next Wednesday completed, and then we do the same thing until the painting is finished. So 3 or 4 Wednesday afternoons or whatever. And same thing with the oils, to give it a chance to dry in between. And the watercolors too, because it's not as easy. People think watercolors, because it's water, are, I can do that. Not if you're going to paint in layers, which is what I do. So yeah, I have a series going here, and then at the Hui, you can go to huinoeau.com, HUINOEAU.com, and check out. They've got a great lineup, not just me, but some of the best artists on Maui.
Yeah, wonderful artists.
And affordable.
And they do have naked models over there. It doesn't look like we're going to have naked models on this show anytime soon.
They do. They have naked models.
Well, I wish we had more time. I wish it were an hour show, but...
well, that's okay. I've got my naked man coming over this afternoon.
So there is a naked model. But it's a man. Oh, well.
Yeah. Bobby can stay.
Great fun. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah. Jess, it's good to be with you again.
Thank you, Bill.
This is Bill Best on exhibit. Aloha.
Aloha.